Thank you so much, Alyssa and Sarah, for singing that for us again. That was a special request because there were a lot of images in that I'm going to pick up on in the reflection, and so thank you very much for that. All signs of hope and hopefulness for sure. Well, when I was preparing for this today, I asked our grandson, so I have to write this thing about hope. What does hope look like to you? Now, Luca, who is 8, is a very thoughtful guy, so he didn't respond right away, but after thinking about it for a little while, this is what he said. He said, well, hope is feeling both excited and sad at the same time. And so I asked him to explain that, and he said, well, it all depends on whether you get what you're hoping for. So, as I put all the pieces of this reflection together, though, I found myself thinking about what he said a lot, and he's quite right. If we're going to be talking about hope, we have to address both sides. The energy that keeps us going and the despair that bogs us down. Sometimes when we're tired and discouraged and we've come to the end of our rope, it's difficult to even find a trace of hope, butterflies or no butterflies. Author and spiritual leader Joyce Rupp relays a story about a time when she was in that kind of space. She felt a deadness within her, and she just couldn't muster the enthusiasm for anything when she heard a knock on her door. A friend who had been driving by just stopped in the spur of the moment, hoping Joyce was home so he could invite her out to see a beautiful rainbow appearing in the sky. Joyce writes, I stood there for a long time, amazed at the beauty, caught up in the wonder of nature. And as I walked into the house, I felt something new inside me. I named it hope and happiness. My tiredness had quietly been replaced with a sense of peace and beauty. My questions about my crazy schedule had been stilled with the reassurance of God's nearness. My heart was happy with the thought that someone cared enough about me to deliberately stop and invite me to go see a rainbow. In that story, Joyce has a name for the people who knock on our door and invite us out from our doubt and our fear. Invite us to experience perhaps a moment of grace, a moment of wonder, a moment filled with the presence of the sacred. She called them rainbow callers. Rainbow callers. I think our purple-hatted heroine, that's hard to say, our purple-hatted heroine in Butterflies Under Our Hats is exactly that. She is a rainbow caller for the people of Kelm. She calls them out of their despair to witness something beautiful that leaves them with traces of hope that make all the difference in their behavior. I think it is safe to say that Sandy Sasso's book, based on a Jewish folk tale, can easily fall into the category of a modern Jewish midrash. Now, midrash is both a way of reading a new voice into the scriptures and an actual collection of commentaries on scripture written by rabbis in the first 10 centuries CE. Sandy has written extensively about midrash, and she says, rabbis delighted in reading the Bible with question marks. I love that. Reading the Bible with question marks to discover not just what the Bible meant, but what it continues to mean. They entered into dialogue with the text and added another voice in the room. And it was from these voices and question marks that they wrote Midrashim. There are stories of hope sprinkled throughout the Bible, in both the Hebrew and the Christian scriptures. Stories written as rainbow callers, meant to call us from our times of despair into the presence of hope. The prophet Isaiah spoke of the strength of putting your hope in God. Isaiah 40:31. But those who hope in God will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. In one of Paul's letters to the Romans, he talks about what it's like to live by faith. In this prayer, he offers, "May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit." And in Paul's letter to the Ephesians, he writes about the hope found in the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus. May he enlighten the eyes of your mind so that you can see what hope his call holds for you. In the Jewish Midrash tradition, the rabbis took ancient texts and wrote their own commentary. They not only wrote scholarly interpretations, they also wrote creatively through parables and stories that would help us understand in simple words the messages of the scriptures. And from that wonderful tradition, Rabbi Sandy Sasso dons the hat of a rainbow collar and offers this simple story that I think we can all relate to. The mysterious woman with the purple hat knocks on the door of the people of Kelm. Come on out here and see," she says. "There's something better than luck." You see, luck implies that you sit back and you wait for it to come your way, which was just what the people of Kelm did until their absence of luck became their story, and they stopped even trying altogether. Their inaction fed on itself until they sank into despair and gave up completely. When we watch the news and see the changes around us, how easy it can be for us to say, "Well, look how unlucky we are. Our economy is in a mess. Our environment is in a mess. The problems are just too enormous for me to do anything about it." How easy it can be for us to fall into despair and simply give up trying. But that's not how the story ends for the people of Kelm. The mysterious woman, Holy Mystery herself, appears and calls them to look for the butterflies of hope. And it turns out they didn't even need the butterflies, they simply just needed the traces of hope, the promise of new life that, unbeknownst to them, was with them all along. They saw glimpses of hope, the glimpses of hope they needed to help them put one foot in front of the other. In the June issue of Broadview, which is a new iteration of the United Church magazine, The Observer, there was an article written by Mark Mann, a journalist living in Montreal. The article was titled "Parenting in the Age of Climate Change. New Dad Finds Reason for Hope Amidst Climate Change." Mark is a wonderful writer, and I recommend this article to you. He writes about the difficulties he and his wife had in conceiving and how they hung on to hope and prayed for both the health of his family and the health of Mother Earth. He experienced a roller coaster of emotions mixed with hope and despair as he contemplated bringing new life into a world of looming ecological disaster. And he writes about it. The fetus was 7 weeks old, the size of a blueberry, sprouting nubby little arms and legs, tipped with webbed hands and feet. When the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres warned that climate change represents a direct existential threat and that we are careening towards the edge of the abyss. A month later, when the fetus had grown to about the size of a strawberry and the vital organs were all newly functioning, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change warned that if we hit 1.5 degrees of warming, most inhabited regions of the Earth, particularly the tropics, will see increases in the number of extreme hot days. Some places will see more precipitation and others more droughts. By the time the fetus was the size of a cauliflower and starting to smile, news media were reporting on a scientific review that warned of an insect Armageddon caused by overuse of pesticides, urbanization, and climate change. When Mark reached a point where, in his words, he was swept along by tangled currents of joy and panic, he sought out the wisdom of an acquaintance of his, Dave Krashin, an Anishinaabe elder. Dave became for Mark a rainbow caller, offering a chance to take a breath and see the traces of hope. And this is what Dave offered to Mark. We will never change out of fear. Instead, we need to start from a different position. That means going back to the beginning and teaching our children to align with the earth. It will provide what we need to survive. The earth will never betray those who have a reciprocal love and respect for her. What wonderful lessons to teach our children. Come out and see the beauty around you, and know that we are to be one with the earth. Our hope lies in our ability to fall in love with the earth once again, and to respect its beauty, its power, and its mystery. Somehow, I think our children already know that, and we have to learn when to let them lead. My favorite thing to do when asked is to write an original lullaby for a baby. And now I'm proud to say several children in our congregation have their very own song. I can't think of a better way for me to be a rainbow caller of hope. I like to first talk to the parents and ask them about their family values and what their hopes are for their child. And then I weave those ideas into an original song for their baby. I actually think every baby should come into the world with their own lullaby. Don't you think? The traditional ones are kind of lacking. What is it? Yeah, it doesn't end well. It's not good. Baby is delivered, they get a birth certificate and a lullaby. I think that would be perfect. If we are to begin planting seeds of hope, we need to create a space for dreaming. We cannot create something new without first holding a vision of what that looks like. I believe the dreams and imaginings of each child will help shape our world. How wonderful it would be if each child entered dreamland with the invitation to imagine a better world. What are your dreams for our children and our grandchildren? What are your visions of what could be? How might you be a rainbow caller for someone you know? Today we are offering you a chance to plant actual seeds of hope. At the back in a basket you'll find there are some small envelopes of seeds, 3 varieties of milkweed. Yes, we want you to plant weeds. Milkweed that will attract monarch butterflies to your yard. The monarch butterflies are particularly at risk at the moment, and they could use our help. So if you think you have the perfect spot to plant some milkweed, we invite you to please pick up a package of seeds on your way out. They're at the back. I'll leave you with a lyric from a song called Planting Trees and Sowing Seeds, a hymn on not giving up by Fred Kahn and Ron Klusmeyer. Were the world to end tomorrow, would we plant a tree today? Would we till the soil of loving, kneel to work and rise to pray? Pray that at the end of living, of philosophies and creeds, God will find the people busy, planting trees and sowing seeds. As your milkweed seeds grow and the butterflies come, I hope you will remember our story today of the difference between luck and hope, of delighting in the beauty of our world, and in the invitation to create the space to dream. May you be able to move forward from your places of despair and realize that hope was there all along, right there under your hat.